Hi everybody, I'm Jim. Welcome back to Song Tripping. I'm going to do a shootout video today of Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen, his debut album of 1973. I think it's an unjustly overlooked album. Not as many people listen to it as they ought to, I believe, including myself. So I came to this album a little bit late, even though I lived in the Philadelphia area. Bruce Springsteen was very big. We were kind of catching on to him pretty early in the 70s. And at some of these local colleges, Bruce Springsteen performed there before he was a big star. And anyway, I was exposed to plenty of songs from this album back in the day by means of the radio. And it's a nice fold out cover here. Lyrics on the back. And I got that album late. Like I was, this was in the early 90s. I got that from Vintage Vinyl in St. Louis for 99 cents. And it took me a while I was just filling in gaps in Springsteen, like Springsteen catalog. And to be honest, I didn't listen to it a ton. And somewhere along the way, I got this original CD of it. And this was, I paid $5.99 used for it. I think I got this after I got the vinyl. And again, didn't listen to it a ton. Some of the songs I'm familiar with from the radio days. So songs like Blinded by the Light, Growing Up, For You, Spirit in the Night, It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City. I was familiar with those. I knew them well just because they got so many plays in the Philly area. But the album as a whole, I didn't think much of. And back in the day with the record store era, you would see that in the nice price bins for pretty cheap. It wasn't a big selling album. It took him about 3 albums till he made it big with Born to Run. And this 1973 debut, I think, is unjustly overlooked. It's a great album. It's got wonderful songs. He's got so much energy. He's just bubbling over with lyrics, like real mouthfuls of lyrics. It's very prolix. It's very prodigious. It's just amazing. The exuberance of the music and the songwriting. Lots of nice variety. You've got up-tempo songs. You've got very acoustic-based, intimate songs. And as I've done this shootout over the last couple of weeks, I've really come to appreciate just how strong this album is. I really, really like it a lot. It's risen in my Springsteen rankings. So anyway, what occasioned this shootout was the fact that I got, as part of a record order I made through Discogs, I got a new version of the MoFi Original Master Recording SACD, mastered by Sean Britton. And it comes with a lyrics book. It's nice. And to compare that with the old CD, it's a little bit of a different presentation. This one's more of a fold out into a lyric sheet poster thing, right? So you've got the stock CD, you've got the MoFi SACD, and I just got curious. I was like, well, all right, the reason I got this was to fill an order. I needed to get up to a price level where they would ship it. And this was marked down because there's a little bit of a crease on that back cover there, you can see. But I got this on the cheap. It was in the shrink for, I think, $22. So I saved some money on it. I took a chance on it, and I listened to it. And here is the label. You can see that. So anyway, these are hybrid SACDs, and I thought, I wonder if it sounds any better. So that's how this all started, and it gave me the opportunity to revisit this album. So we did our comparisons, vinyl versus old CD versus the MoFi. And also later in the process, I realized there's another remaster that was issued around 2014, 2015. Bruce came out with a box set of his earlier albums on vinyl and CD. And this remaster was done by Bob Ludwig. And you can find that on the streaming network. So I listened to that as well on Tidal in high definition. So I added that to the mix. Now, I'm going to go do some full album impressions and also some song by song impressions, and just give you a general sense of like which tracks I preferred on which versions. So the way we listened to this, we listened to it on the ELAC debut speakers in the living room, and we started with the MoFi, and I was listening with my wife. I didn't tell her which version we were listening to. So we listened to that from start to finish, and then I put the old CD on and listened to it from start to finish. And before the old CD was finished, she leaned over and said, I know which one I like better. I like the first one better. And we talked about it, and I generally agreed with her, although I was a little less certain on like a track by track basis, but the overall impression, I agreed. I like the MoFi better than the old CD. You could definitely hear differences. There's no doubt about it. If you do your own shootout, I think you're going to hear it. The EQ is somewhat different. The Mobile Fidelity sounds, the definition is clearer. There seems to be more dynamic range. There's, the EQ is different. It's different. I think I hear more mid-high frequencies, like that's been goosed up a little bit. And also the bottom end, on most of the tracks at least, sounds more prominent, more percussive, more thumpy. So by contrast, the old CD, to me, and to us, I should say, this sounded more like listening to the radio. It just sounded like you have the radio on in the background and you're hearing the familiar sounds of Bruce Springsteen. This is what it's always sounded like. And it just sort of recedes into the background. Whereas the Mobile Fidelity sounded a lot more like in your face, prominent, present, intimate and involving. That was the overall impression as we listened to all the songs on the album. And the old CD sounded smeary to me. It just sort of, everything is kind of like smeared, and what things weren't quite as distinct, and it was not impressive. Now, overall impressions of the Bob Ludwig remaster clearly was superior to the older CD. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The music's more musical, more present. But my overall impression of that versus the Mobile Fidelity was the Bob Ludwig sounded somehow more even. Like the EQ was flatter, I think. Bruce's vocals sound pretty good on the Bob Ludwig. They seem to be featured maybe a little more overall. Depends on what track you're listening to. But there was it's a nice presentation. It's a significant upgrade to the older CD. I'm not saying the older CD is awful. It's just not impressive somehow. And it's like easier to ignore. Whereas the Bob Ludwig and the Mobile Fidelity, they make you pay attention to the music. What your preferences between the Bob Ludwig and the Mobile Fidelity in digital is going to be up to you and your ears. I feel like the dynamic range and the EQ on the Mobile Fidelity, there's more going on there, I think. So as we get into the track by track shootouts, you'll sort of see which ones I preferred. In a lot of instances, it was a close call. Now the vinyl I should talk about a little bit too. That, remember, this is a $1 copy that I got back in the early 90s. It's in good condition. Nothing wrong with it. It's clean. Really, really nice. I have to say, maybe overall this is the winner. Like, I know it's a bit of apples and oranges when you're comparing vinyl to digital, but on the Fluence turntable, the Marantz amp with its built-in preamp, really, really nice. Really warm, really sweet, depth of sound, cohesive, coherent. Just beautiful blended sound. It's just really, really lovely. Now, the Mobile Fidelity, a couple other impressions of this were, as we were listening to it, and I listened to it on the speakers and also in these Grado headphones, and then listened to the CD layer in the car compared to the other digital versions. So I spent a lot of time with them, and one impression I had of the Mobile Fidelity was I really got the strong impression that I was listening to tape, and that's not a criticism. It's like it's sort of what you want. They say it's the original master recording. It just felt like you were in the studio listening to this, like for the first time. Like things sounded really fresh. And songs I hadn't paid attention much to before, like Mary Queen of Arkansas or Lost in the Flood, The Angel. Like these songs all of a sudden felt like they belonged on the album, like they were complimentary, and like there was drama, and it was very cool. It was involving. It was, now sometimes that can work to the detriment, because if you're listening to something that sounds a lot like tape, you're going to maybe hear some flaws. So there's, little distorted passages, or something sounds a little grainy or wobbly, or you can actually hear like maybe this was recorded in a different studio. I think a couple of these songs, like Blinded by the Light, the record company wanted them to go back into the studio, and it might have been a different studio, and they were looking for some singles to promote. And so you can hear that. You can hear like things sound a bit different, and maybe more so than on some of the other versions. Although if you listen carefully, I think you're going to hear it regardless. So that was pretty cool. Now, one other thing about the Bob Ludwig, I was reading about it, is apparently they use this process, like I think it's called the plangent process, where they digitize the original master tape, and then they somehow correct it for like the variations on tape, like wow and flutter and like the different things, and they can actually kind of tune it and make things a lot more tighter and precise. And I will say that I think I could detect that when comparing the Bob Ludwig remaster on streaming versus the older CD. That it did sound tighter. It sounded better. Now I think they went back to the old master tape for this one. Now here's where I have a little bit of a criticism of Mobile Fidelity, where I wish they would talk about the provenance more. Like, when did you take this original master tape and transfer it to DSD? Like, how did that go? Like, when did that happen? Like, where did you get the files from? Like, what version were you doing? Like, if just give us a little more detail, because people are paying a lot of money for these records, and it would be nice to know. But, they use weasel language, and, they sort of, dance around it, and, we got proprietary mastering chain and blah, blah. But, I'm not saying to give all your secrets away, but tell us a little bit more about where you got these tapes from, and when you did this, so that we have more information, and we can make a more informed decision about what to buy. But anyway, I'm assuming they went back to the old master tape, because to me it sounds different from the Bob Ludwig. All these versions sound different. All right, so quick rundown of the track by track breakdown, I'll give you some of my favorites. There were like nothing sort of universally won, but on Blinded by the Light, I think I preferred the vinyl the most. On Growing Up, I also preferred the vinyl the most. And in both those instances, the MoFi came in second, with the Bob Ludwig coming in third place and the old CD last. Mary Queen of Arkansas, here's a point where I really thought the Mobile Fidelity started to stand out. I was like, whoa, I've never heard that song. It felt like I'd never heard the song before. It just sort of jumped out of the speakers. I was really impressed. And I give that the nod. I thought that was the best of all the presentations, with the vinyl coming in close second. On the bus, does the bus stop at 82nd Street? Here, I would give the slight edge to the Bob Ludwig remaster, with a MoFi and the vinyl coming in a close second, sort of tied. On Lost in the Flood, which is a song that's really grown on me, I give the edge here to the MoFi. It took a few listens for that to emerge as the winner, but when the song gets really loud with the drums and bass, and he's doing all those cool drum fills and everything, it just, the sort of enhanced bottom end of the MoFi seemed to like outshine the Bob Ludwig remaster, which was also quite good, and the vinyl, which was also quite good. On the Angel, this was the one time where I almost gave the nod to the old CD for some reason. I could be wrong about that, but I think of all the tracks on the original CD, the Angel was the best sounding one. And the vinyl was the worst. I think it because it's a quiet song and you hear maybe some surface noise and so forth. On For You, another favorite of mine, really passionate singing by Bruce. Here I give the nod to the MoFi, and the vinyl is in second, close behind it, also very, very impressive. But there were moments on, like when he gets into the second chorus and things kind of crescendo and he gets so passionate with his singing, like that just sounded so musical and so intimate and so fresh in the Mobile Fidelity for some reason. On Spirit in the Night, I really liked the vinyl the best. Like it was really charming, like really deep and warm, lovely. And the Bob Ludwig came in second on that one. And then It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City was pretty much an even push there. Maybe the slight edge to the vinyl, or it was just hard. Maybe the Bob Ludwig was the best one. It was hard for me to make up my mind on that one. But in the final analysis, which version is best? Well, that's totally subjective. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. But I'm glad I got the Mobile Fidelity. There's no guarantee that you're going to get a better version here. I will say that this is different. I will also say that the Bob Ludwig remaster from 2015 on Tidal is great. It's like a lot of you would be like perfectly happy with that, and you might even prefer it because it's maybe not like EQ'd as much. And Bruce's vocals like sound really good overall on that presentation. But I have to give maybe the slight nod overall to the vinyl. That old 99-cent copy back there held up really, really well. So musical, so warm, deep, just a great, great feel. It really takes you back to the day. But this one, I'm glad I got it. I think overall this is my favorite of the digital versions, and I'd be curious to hear this version on vinyl. Although I'm not think I'm going to get it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Which version do you prefer? If you've done some like heavy listening and comparing, and what are your memories of Greetings from Asbury Park? Has this risen in your estimation like it has for me? I think this is a really, really an album worth paying more attention to. Wonderful debut. He sounds so fresh Just funk. There's a funkiness to those first two Springsteen albums that I miss too. You know, it's just kind of like funky, skunky, fun. You know, a little jazzy at times, even bluesy, but then he mixes in the acoustic stuff. I love it all. It's like a great variety, great drama. Just wonderful, wonderful debut album. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.